Hello, friendos and bendos, and of course the Warner Brothers executives who are definitely watching this video. My name is Z. I run a YouTube channel, the YouTube channel you're watching this video on, and I'm also a huge fan of Wonder Woman, and I'm super excited for the Wonder Woman game that you're coming out with. So I just want to get into the ring, give my pitches, my ideas for the game since I care so much about Wonder Woman and I'm so passionate about her. And let's get into it. So what do we know so far? Monolith Studios is making the game. If you don't know, Monolith Studios are the guys who made the Lord of the Rings games, Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. We know that this game is going to be open world. We know it's going to be single player. We know, thank God, it's not going to be live service. And we also know that it's going to make use of the Nemesis system. The Nemesis system was a gameplay mechanic in Shadow of Mordor and in Shadow of War that Warner Brothers said no other games could use, aside from, no other studios could use aside from them. And they've been keeping it in the vaults until now. The Wonder Woman game is going to involve the Nemesis system, and it should be awesome. We also know that the game is going to be revolving around uniting Amazon family and humans from the modern world. We also got a few concept arts, leaked concept art, featuring Diana fighting some of her enemies. You can see in the top left, you can see Cersei in the background, as well as Medusa and Cheetah. We also, on the right, we can see Diana teaming up with two other characters. If we're to assume that these are characters from Wonder Woman lore, I would think that the Amazon on the right is Nubia, and the woman in the arm on the left is most likely this game's version of Edda. That's what I would guess. And so from both that little tagline we got, these leaked concept arts, and all of the information surrounding the game that we know so far, I think the plot of the game is Themyscira is gonna be invaded by Cersei. Cersei is one of Wonder Woman's biggest enemies, one of her most powerful enemies. She's like, Batman is Joker, but like Ra's al Ghul is more powerful than Joker, even though Joker is like her Batman's arch enemy. Lex Luthor, Superman's arch enemy, but he has Brainiac and Doomsday. Spider Man has Green Goblin, but you can argue that like Venom or the Kingpin, they're also like really like some of his bigger threats. And Wonder Woman, like sure, her arch enemy, you could say it's Cheetah, but Cersei would be, in my opinion, like her final boss as an enemy. And I think that Cersei should be the final boss of this game. She's taken over Themyscira, and she's done it so using the help of, her bestiomorphs, some Greek monsters, maybe even the Amazons of Bonham McDowell. She's used them in the comics a couple of times to invade Themyscira. And I think she's gonna also use Villainy Inc. Villainy Inc. is gonna be the other bosses of the game. Villainy Inc. is Wonder Woman's, whatever her villains team up, they make Villainy Inc. Like Spider-Man has the Sinister Six, Diana has Villainy Inc. And I'm going to tell you who I think the Villainy Inc. members for this game are, who I want them to be, but first let's talk about what the game's going to be like. So this is just an example. This isn't what I think the map should look like or anything, but pretty much the red area is like restart, like that's the last bastion after Cersei has invaded the island, and everything else you have to expand outward to take back the island. The blue is going to represent, different camps, of different monsters and enemies. And there's going to be several different camps. And each camp is going to be ruled by a war chief of sorts. And each war chief is then going to be ruled by a central Villainy Inc. member. So think of it, like this, so you have groups of enemies consolidated around war chiefs, and then multiple war chiefs are consolidated around one member of Villainy Inc. And the way this is going to work is going to be with the lasso of truth. The way you're going to like claim all this land from the enemies is going to be with the lasso of truth, because the Nemesis system had a big thing with interrogation. I think the lasso of truth is going to be the tool for interrogation. Think of it this way: you will be able to um, you'll be able to interrogate enemies to learn with the Lasso of Truth to learn about more powerful enemies. Like you'll be able to use Lasso of Truth to interrogate the smaller time enemies to learn about their war chiefs, and then interrogate the war chiefs to learn about which member of Villainy Inc. is in charge of the entire section, and I think that you could use the Lasso of Truth to also take back strongholds, because this is an open world game. Tons of open world games, they involve, taking back strongholds that you can use to fast travel to an area and take over that area. I think you should be able to use the Lasso of Truth to subdue one of the war chiefs, and through that that's essentially you'll be able to fast travel to their base of operations, and you'll be less likely to be attacked by enemies in that area because their war chief has submitted to you, and as a result, you will be able to move in that area freely. However, since this has the Nemesis system involved, I think it would be really cool if if you fail to do so, it's going to be harder for you to take back that area from the war chief. And also, I think unless you defeat the Villainy Inc. member in charge of that entire area, there should be a chance for you to lose that area because another smaller time enemy has taken over back from the war chief and then reinstated their evilness, essentially. Because in Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor, sometimes the big enemies were able to be taken down by smaller enemies, and they'd then be sort of the bigger enemies that you need to take down. And I think that as a result, I think also losing to small time enemies should make them more confident to take back their strongholds that that you subdued the war chiefs from. And I think that just creates this really dynamic gameplay where you are essentially constantly trying to fight back from a specific section, and you're just going to keep it calm until you can defeat the Villainy Inc. member, and then boom, that section is complete. And I really like that idea. So who should so this is essentially the thing I'm talking about, you'd be able to learn intel. Oh, right, you'd be able to learn intel to Lasso of Truth. You'd be able to learn intel about war chiefs and Villainy Inc. members. And this screen is just part of the Nemesis system. I think that would be really cool, really awesome. I'm just really excited for the Nemesis system, for Wonder Woman specifically, because I think it would work so well. I think you could use it in so many different ways. And let's also talk about Diana, her fighting style. I thought I was going to talk about something else, but I realized that this PowerPoint is going in a different direction than I remember doing it, even though I literally made it yesterday at the time of recording this. I think I'm fucking stupid. I think I'm essentially stupid. Anyway, Diana, she should have plenty of different styles of fighting. People have different opinions. Should Diana use weapons or should she not use weapons? But I think at the end of the day, since it's a video game, you should be able to, do whatever you want. If you want, you can just use your fists. You can use a sword. You can use an axe. You can use a bow and arrow. And you can have different skill trees for each of these, and you can do so many different types of combat attacks. I also think that since it's a video game, you should be able to do magic. Diana has been able to do magic a couple of times in the comics, and in the new Absolute universe, she is a full-on witch. And I think that, why not, since this is a video game, why not give her some magical abilities? I don't think she should, be able to do, insane stuff, but, I think she should be able to cast a couple of spells. I think that would be cool and fun, and I think that, there could be a lore explanation for this. Maybe this Diana just can do magic, or maybe, Cersei, her being on Themyscira's meddling up the magic. Maybe the gods are helping Diana this time around. The point is, I think magic and a magic skill tree is going to be another beautiful way to expand on gameplay. Now we're going into who I think should be part of Villainy Incorporated. So I think that we should have Giganta, the Blue Snowman, Dr. Poison, Angleman, Dr. Psycho, and Medusa. There's a certain character that you're probably thinking, why aren't they on the team? I'll discuss about them later. But right now, let's talk about the members of Villainy Inc., why I've included them, and what I think their boss fights should be like. Giganta, Wonder Woman's heavy hitter villain. I really like Giganta, and I can imagine, maybe a fight where you climb up her or maybe you fly around her and try to take her down, point by point, limb by limb. I think that'd be really cool. I think maybe Giganta could be in charge of, like, maybe each Villainy Inc. member is in charge of a distinct group of types of enemies. Maybe Giganta's in charge of all the, like, big monsters, like Cyclops and trolls and ogres. Maybe she's in charge of them, and that would be really cool. I think Blue Snowman is Bernard Brilliant, the Blue Snowman, very underrated villain, and I think her ability to, like, have her ice powers would be an interesting thing to fight against. I think she could rule, like the mountaintop area of Themyscira where it's snowing. Maybe she's in charge of, like, the harpies, since they're in the high reach areas. Or maybe she's in charge of, I'm not sure what kind of monsters Blue Snowman would be in charge of, but I still want to see her because I think an ice enemy could introduce some cool new gameplay mechanics. Dr. Poison, definitely, I think Dr. Poison, if the, I think Dr. Poison would, like, be in charge of a couple of different types of monsters, but what differentiates her is that she'd be using her advanced chemical knowledge to mutate them in order to make her army better, her section of the army better. And I think her boss fight, instead of beating her, like fighting her specifically, I think she'll be sending after you her best mutated monsters, the best ones that she has. Angleman, the GOAT. Angleman's the absolute GOAT. I don't know who Angleman could be in charge of, but I love Angleman so much, and I think that he could have the coolest boss fight of all time because of his reality warping powers using the Angler. I think that maybe a cool thing you could do is that since the Angler is apocalyptic technology and it's really, really powerful, I think maybe the Angler boss fights should be less about trying to beat him and more trying to wear him down. Like, maybe the Angler, the more it's used, the more it corrupts you. So, like, the crazier you get, and as a result, the battle is more of a war of attrition because you're trying to escape the Angleman's devastating attacks. And as the battle goes on, he becomes more powerful, but also more deranged until he eventually overwhelms himself, and that ends the battle. You're able to knock him out because he's so overwhelmed by the power of the Angler. I think that would be really cool and a really interesting idea for a boss fight. Dr. Psycho. Dr. Psycho, I think that the thing about Dr. Psycho is he fully he would not want to work with Cersei on his own simply because she's a woman. Well, I can also see Dr. Psycho working with Cersei simply because they can, pull their skills together to defeat Diana. So maybe or maybe not. But I think for the Amazons and Bonnie McDowell are enemies, I think he should be in charge of them because Dr. Psycho would be 100% the type of villain to want an army of women to control because he's just that type of person. He is misogyny incarnate. And I think, a fight with him could involve lots of different mind shenanigans. I think it could involve maybe you trying to dispel his illusions. I think that'd be really cool. And Medusa, of course, is just a classic Greek monster, and Diana's fought her, had iconic fights with her, and I just want to see how the game could do this whole, try to avoid her gaze thing. I think that'd be a cool dynamic, and I think she could be in charge of the more smaller humanoid monsters, maybe other Gorgons, shades, things like that, maybe some nymphs. I don't know. Oh, and definitely the bestiomorphs as well. I think Cersei should put her in charge of, like, the bestiomorphs. Actually, now that I think about it, Blue Snowman could also be in charge of some of the bestiomorphs because they have, if they're more furry, they can survive the colder climates. I don't know. But I think I do still like the idea of the different Villainy Inc. members being in charge of different archetypes of enemies. And it just allows a lot more variety. And yeah, so now you might be wondering, one villain who I haven't mentioned is Cheetah. When you think of Wonder Woman, you're probably going to think of Cheetah as one of her biggest ops, all right? She's one of her biggest ops. How are we going to do Cheetah? The thing about Barbara Ann Minerva as Cheetah is, especially as of DC Rebirth in 2016, her entire character, well, honestly, ever since Barbara Ann Minerva was introduced in the 80s, Perez is wrong, was the 80s, yes. She's always switch between completely villainous to more of an anti-hero to anything in between that. And I think an interesting idea could be using the Nemesis system. You could make it so that Diana, as the story progresses and as you continue fighting her, either she comes to your side or she becomes even more savage. Maybe this is the origin story of Barbara Ann Minerva. We could do that in this game. Like Cersei corrupts her, using the power of, maybe she uses some magic of Urtkataga, because that's the god that gave Barbara Ann Minerva the powers with the cheetah. Maybe Cersei has a connection to Urtkataga, like maybe she controls Urtkataga's like plants, and she can turn Barbara Ann Minerva into the cheetah, and then you'll spend the game trying to bring Barbara back to your side. But she's gonna be constantly fighting her savage urges as the cheetah, and that's just gonna be a big back and forth. And the nemesis system can be involved because each of your encounters can be logged in the game, and your relationship can be expanded upon that way. And maybe at the end of the game, like maybe with like maybe it's maybe at the end of the game, depending on how far Barbara went, she'll either stay on the side of good or stay on the side of evil, and that will give different gameplay opportunities. Maybe the boss fight, maybe a boss fight with her will be different that way. Maybe she'll aid you in different ways. I really like that idea with Cheetah. She's the type of character that 100% works with that kind of thing. Now, here's some miscellaneous details that I definitely want to see. I want to see a well done Themyscira. I want to see beautiful, so many different types of environments. I want to see so much different types of technology and magic. I don't want to see just ancient Greece, alright? I don't want to see just ancient Greece. I want to see Themyscira. Themyscira, in my eyes, has always been less of an ancient Greek society, like an ancient Greek society, and more like an alien society with ancient Greek theming. You know what I mean? Like they have such advanced technology, but it still kind of feels like ancient Greece, and I want that vibe to be with this Themyscira. I also want to see plenty of mounts. Of course, the Kangas. The Kangas have to be there, but also potentially Pegasus, and maybe a skin for the Pegasus that's like Pegasus and Absolute Wonder Woman, who's the mythological Pegasus, and a skeleton. A chimera. You could ride a chimera, and maybe in the sea you could have a sea mount, and that could be a megalodon because there's megalodons surrounding Themyscira. And I also want to see all the iconic Amazons: Hippolyta, Antiope, Philippus, Nubia, Io, Menelope. Maybe like each of them can give you different quests and stuff. Like Io could be the one who upgrades your weapons. Menelope can be the one who gives you your quests, or can be the one who gives you your magic spells. Like maybe she's the one who does that. Antiope and Philippus could give you your quests, maybe. And of course, just all of them. I want to see all of them. All right, I want to see all of them, and maybe some of the other side characters again, like Edda. Maybe Steve could be in the game. I'm not sure who else, but that's the end of the video. That's what I want to see from the Wonder Woman game. Please, Warner Bros., don't mess this up. Hopefully, we get a trailer by the end of the year. Hopefully, the Game Awards, and hopefully, the game comes out next year. That'll be awesome. So thank you, friends and bendos, for watching. Comment on this video if you enjoyed. I love reading your comments. And what do you want from Wonder Woman game? Because I'm just so excited for this. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.